Indeed, I represent 22 satellite operators, and they provide many different communication services around the world. Some of them are for critical and safety of life services, some are for content delivery, some are for vital internet connectivity where no other service is available, or even for communications on the move, be it on the sea, in the air, for mobile healthcare, mobile banking, and so on. But the point is that our services have become embedded in society in a way that most people really have no idea about. So in a day without satellites, many services that we actually rely on for the proper and secure functioning of society would come to a grinding halt. And it's for this reason, above all, that ESOA members are committed to actions to ensure the continued ability to use the space orbital resource to do good things for humankind. Space is absolutely a precious resource. It needs to be responsibly maintained. We don't want to be facing environmental issues in space like we're facing on Earth right now. With climate change, we may already have gone too far, but with space, we do still have an opportunity to steer the course. We have created debris, it's true, but it's not yet at the stage that access to space is denied. So for the moment, it's still a question of if and not a case of when. So if we act sensibly and in a coordinated way, we can still preserve space and continue to benefit from space-based services. But the situation that we face now is that space regulation has not kept pace with the advent of new space and mega constellations. And from the ESOA perspective, we need urgent action to ensure that the long-term sustainability of space is preserved for future generations. Time really is of the essence. We cannot spend another 5 years talking about it. And I wanted to give the example of a workshop organized by the European Commission last week in which I participated on space traffic management. At EU level, there are various studies underway. They have multiple different stakeholders involved, and they're due to report in about 18 months' time. Now, if you just think of those 18 months, in that time, potentially thousands of new satellites will already have been launched. So we need faster decision-making processes if we're going to get a handle on this topic and have a good shot at it. We are all about advocacy and high-level communications, and we have spent years doing that. As a sector, we have suffered from being an invisible infrastructure. So embedded across society, absolutely vital. Turn off satellites, you have no internet, you have no mobile phone working, and no weather, so many different services that just go dead, but nobody realizes that. However, I think the awareness issue has changed. So to start with, the entrepreneurial activities of a few billionaires, for example, has brought a lot of attention to space. And all of a sudden, people understand what is satellite broadband. People didn't know that before. But what is really important is not just that they understand the services, because it's very easy for human beings to take things for granted. You might understand it in theory, but in reality, you're still going to take it for granted until it's not there. But equally, this attention that has been brought to the topic has highlighted the need for governance. It has highlighted it to astronomers who were oblivious to this in the past, to other satellite operators who are so concerned with the health, the fact that they need to continue to deliver on long-term contracts for absolutely essential services. So I don't think attention is the issue anymore. We even have the G20 making statements about space now. The real issue is the governance, which has not changed in so long. The regulations around space have been unchanged since like the 90s. A great example is the 25-year rule for decommissioning satellites, LEO satellites. We know it's not fit for purpose in the era of mega constellations, but it's not changing yet. And a lot of that is to do with the fact that I think we're now living in a new space race. This isn't just about maximizing the benefits of a common good. This is back to geopolitics. This is about who's going to be able to be the first to put up, a global satellite broadband system, who's going to develop all of the next generation services and capabilities that will come from that. Europe with their initiative from Commissioner Breton for the EU constellation for secure connectivity. That's precisely because the Commissioner realizes that if Europe doesn't get its act together, we risk being a customer of next generation services and capabilities developed in another part of the world. And we will lose all of the jobs, the skills, the opportunities to develop these things, miss all of the economic opportunities that come with the emergence of these new capabilities, right? So, I mean, I know I've gone slightly off script with respect to space governance, but this is very important thinking behind it. And this is part of the reason why you will not get consensus around binding rules and regulations in this issue, because Henry used the word competitive. It is about competition. It's about global competition. And I think that's a great shame, because I think we do need to remember that space is, it is a global common. It is a finite resource. We should compare it to climate change. Are we going to, we cannot let individual players dominate space. And that is what the lack of regulation has allowed. Individual players can today be dominant and take resources like orbital domains for their own use in a way that might not allow future players and future innovation to occur at all. So I mentioned climate change. It's a question of, do we allow big countries to be big polluters and keep telling the smaller ones to stop polluting? Or do we create a regime that shares the finite space resource among all, rather than just among a few? The irony of all this is that we are treating space in a way that risks causing irreparable harm. Yet, at the same time, it's only satellite systems that can hope to connect the world's poorest and the most isolated communities, which is at the heart of so many of the UN SDGs. I think this is the only place in society where we allow bad behavior to just happen. At least, even when you think of oil spills and major disasters, there is some kind of pressure to clean it up afterwards. But in the space domain, when there is bad behavior, there's no agreed consequences for it. You saw Swarm launch satellites without an FCC license. Aerospace Corporation did a study last year that showed that so many companies don't even comply with the 25-year decommissioning rule for LEO satellites. If somebody has a satellite that fails and they can't decommission it, there's no consequences. If somebody launches a bunch of satellites, but they don't actually have all the financing for the entire system secured, and then they file bankruptcy or something and they can't operate them, they can't sell them, there's no consequences. So where is the incentive for satellite operators to do the right thing besides being responsible space citizens? We have seen, and I think it was Peter mentioned this earlier, we can learn important lessons from the maritime sector. And I think we should. There are international rules governing collision avoidance at sea. Who has priority, who has to move, and both parties know how to behave, even if they've never seen each other before. And that's in the vast expanse of the sea. But we don't have that in space. I wanted to give a quote from one of my members. They said, one of my colleagues said, putting non-maneuverable CubeSats into LEO in densely populated orbits is like putting go-karts on the freeway. Nobody would do that. But we do. In space, we do. And new players don't necessarily have the capex to make their satellites as reliable, maneuverable, or trackable as established players do. So their satellites effectively act like a piece of debris from day one. So the question was asked about, how can the private sector help? Has the private sector got a role to play? And I think for sure they do. The Space Data Association, for example, which is an association that brings together operators on a voluntary but binding legal basis, it allows operators to exchange information through a software, so not directly with each other, on who is going to move their satellite, when, what time, by how much, and so on and so forth. And it does all of the conjunction analysis and calculations to prevent the collisions. Now, that is a private sector initiative. However, because it brings value, It has made a meaningful difference in a relatively quick space of time for not very much money. It even has public sector entities participating. But the SDA cannot scale for mega constellations without public support. So I don't think it's all about finding solutions uniquely in the public domain and saying, okay, how can private sector help? It's also about looking at what is happening that we can improve, that we can scale up, because that is accelerating the process. But the problem for SDA, as I said, is how do they treat a company which may have thousands of satellites compared with another company who has maybe only 5? So it is a stopgap until there's a public system with the same quality of service. One last example, I want to talk about the EU SST, so the European Union system. With Brexit, companies who are today feeding vital data into that system, so it's a benefit for both the system as a whole and anybody who is participating in it, but also a benefit for the British companies. They have been told that from the end of 2021, they can no longer participate. There is no common sense in this at all. We need to share more data. That is such an easy step to take. It doesn't require an international treaty. It requires a sensible decision by a regional group of policymakers. It should be a no-brainer. And we need to push for these things. I think sadly there's going to be a little bit of lessons learned in this. I think, when we look at what's happening in technology generally, we hail and applaud technology advancement, and we look at what's happening in other regions of the world, and every region wants to be the first to do something and so on. And we need a few bold leaders who are actually going to put their people first. Let me give you a really random example, which you might think has no bearing on this, but Bhutan. Bhutan is meant to be the happiest country in the world. When they come on the global stage, their ministers are invited to speak at ITU events, International Telecoms Union's events, for example, in connection with connectivity, right? But does anybody actually take that seriously? Because it's not scientific. It's not about technology advancement. It's actually putting your people first. And I think this is where we need to put pressure to insist on a user-centric approach and not chase and hail technology advancement as, the next best thing to slice bread. Because it isn't. It always has unintended consequences. Look at what's happening with social media. Look at what's happening with space. It always has unintended consequences. It is not a good thing per se. You cannot count on the most affluent proponents who are active in this field to really take care of the greater good, because that's not what their companies are about. We shouldn't blame them for it either. They have their own missions, right? So I think it's incumbent upon policymakers and on the entire ecosystem that cares about this to really insist that it is people who count. It is citizens of the world who count, and their interests have to come first, not corporations, and also guard against the dominant voices. So the political weight that comes when you have so many resources. The satellite industry has suffered under this in the spectrum field because the terrestrial mobile industry is so much larger. It has so many more resources, and they have frequently drowned our voice out. And who has suffered? It's users who have suffered, not us as an industry. Users have suffered first and foremost. So that would be my message here, I think.